Hello, welcome back to another episode of Into 99 Podcast, where we've got 99 cards because Commander is number one. I am your Necromancer with all the answers, Necrozak, joined by Dan and Lotus. How are you guys doing today?
Hello, doing great. How are you?
I'm doing really good as well, Zach.
I am doing well, thank you. So today we have an awesome deck tech for you from, of course, the guy who always has to play aggressive decks, Dan. But before we get into that, I want to thank you for listening to us and supporting us in our continued efforts to bring you the best in Commander content. If you like what we do, please think about supporting us through Patreon. Make sure to join our Discord if you haven't already. If you want more stuff Into the 99, you can go to our website, into99.com. It is your one-stop shop for all things Into the 99. And two, please make sure to check out Lotus's show, Brewing It Live, where she brews it live with her co-host,
Han.
God, I was blanking. Rad. With her co-host Han and you, the audience at home. She has a lot of really cool content. They do a lot of really fun things. So yeah, Dan, you want to tell the audience what we're doing today?
Yeah, let me intro this one first off. I love the Forgotten Realms series. As everyone knows, when they announced it, I went nuts on it, and I was so excited because R.A. Salvatore's one of my favorite authors. Wulfgar is one of his main characters. During the spoilers episode, they actually spoiled it live. And I stopped paying attention to recording for the first time ever as I started brewing this deck, because not only do I love the character like in the books, but the card was just really, really cool. So I wanted to get into Wulfgar because, again, I build commanders for many different reasons, but it's usually either because I like the artwork or I like the character's lore. And what better lore is there than this? So the commander of this deck is Wulfgar. It's one of the legendary creatures from the set. I'll just get right into what it does. It's Wulfgar of Icewind Dale. It's 3 and 1 red, 1 green. So we're playing Gruul. We know we're aggressive. It's a legendary human barbarian 4/4 with melee. Whenever it attacks, it gets 1/1 until end of turn for each opponent you attack this combat, which is very strong. And if a creature you control attacking would cause a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, it triggers an additional time. So your melee triggers twice every time you attack with him, and it's pretty easy to get him like +8/+8 every combat. It's nuts. I really, really like this commander so much.
Yeah,
wait, +12, sorry.
When it was spoiled during that our review episode, it was like you said, it was spoiled kind of live. We were recording and then we were wrapping it up, and suddenly we had this whole Gruul section. I read that and I was just kind of like paired with the dragon that you could also run as your commander from the deck. Both in the same deck are just absolutely brutal. So I was when I saw the gear start turning for you, I was like, oh god, what are we getting into with this?
I think that deck's name was like Draconic Intervention or something like that. The precon, I can't even remember.
I thought Draconic Rage.
Draconic Rage, there we go.
Yeah.
It is not good with those two cards in the deck. Cloth and Wulfgar don't really belong in that deck. That deck is all about a very different kind of aggression where you want to go more, in my opinion at least, down the enrage mechanic, where you want to just be able to pyrohemia, ping your creature, and just make these huge dragon armies, right? So that was like, it's a totally different kind of deck play style. Like Wulfgar doesn't really fit in that deck. Like I think the only thing that comes in the deck that is useful is Tectonic Giant. Other than that, it's that and Cloth. Really, like, I don't know. It didn't seem to fit, but the ability is just amazing. I love Panharmonicon, and this is just Panharmonicon for attacks, and I like to attack. So yeah, like there's Zach.
I've looked at a few cards and I'm scared already.
Yeah, there's a bunch of just terrible cards in this deck, but they work really well in the deck. So let's get into it. First off, this is probably like the most budget deck I've designed. If you take like 2 cards out of this deck, it's like a $70 deck. It's so fun, and it really, really will slap your opponents in the face. I'll get into my land section quickly, get it out of the way. 18 forests, 1 Gruul turf, 15 mountains, 1 terramorphic expanse. Nothing extravagant. And then yeah, I'll let Zach start with enchantments. We'll get creatures last because there's a lot.
Do you have enough forests to run 18 forests in your collection?
Brian brought me a ton of basic lands, so that's probably why I have so many.
Showing off now.
Yeah, exactly.
So the first card Dan's got in his enchantment section is Bear Umbra. 2 green for an enchantment aura. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and has, whenever this creature attacks, untap all lands you control, and then totem armor. So if it would be destroyed, or if the creature would be destroyed, you destroy this instead.
Yeah, Bear Umbra's awesome. You do technically double untap. I don't have any mana sinks for that to matter, but it's there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, what are you doing with that much mana?
Yeah. If you had a mana sink, that would be disgusting.
Yeah, but none of them are on attack, so yeah. The next one I have is Dual Nature because in true degenerate fashion, I like to have 2 of each effect that I have. So it's 4 and double green. Whenever a creature comes into play, its controller puts a token into play that's a copy of it. Whenever a creature leaves play, remove all tokens with the same name, and whenever it leaves, remove all tokens created with it from the game. I just really like to double up on these creatures because they pretty much all have an attack trigger. So I want to attack with them, and throwing tokens away kind of doesn't really matter.
So before we move from this section already, I have a critique that I'm surprised you didn't put in here with this being an attacking deck.
Mm-hmm.
Aggravated Assault.
Aggravated Assault is really good. I couldn't find one, and the same with Asceticism, because it would be nice to have the regen shield.
Right.
I just couldn't find either when I was making it.
I was going to say, like, there's your mana sink with Bear Umbra.
Yeah.
I will attack, and then I will attack, and then I will attack, followed by, believe it or not, another attack.
I feel like it's a very on Dan brand.
Yeah.
Aggravated Assault and Bear Umbra would be really, really good in this deck because there's, like I said, we have Cloth, right? Cloth already generates mana on its own. Mm-hmm. So you can pretty much endlessly attack in this deck if you do put it in.
And he lets you keep the mana through your phases.
Yeah. Just anyone listening, mark this timestamp down. There's nothing degenerate in this deck. Just wait for it. You'll see, but wink. Yeah, so I'll go into my artifacts next because, again, there's not many. It's pretty simple. I have a Soul Ring, and I have a Sword of the Animist. Sword of the Animist is 2. Equip creature gets 1/1. Whenever it attacks, you can search your library for basic land, put on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle, equip 2. This is an amazing ramp card in this deck because you cultivate basically you go get 2. I love it.
Yeah.
Or no, Explosive Vegetation, not even cultivate. Yeah, love it. The ability to go fetch 2 lands every time you swing is just you can't not put Sword of the Animist in the deck. So
yeah.
Pretty much all of my sorceries and instants. Again, this deck it's focused on one thing. They're pretty much all ramps. So my sorceries, it's an Abundant Harvest, choose land or non-land, reveal cards from the top till you get the chosen type. We have a Cultivate, we have a Terramorph, which is just a better Explosive Vegetation, and we have 3 visits. Nothing fancy. We have Roiling Regrowth in our instance, sack a land, search your library for up to 2 basic lands, put them on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. And Hunter's Insight, choose a creature you control. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, draw that many cards. It's pretty simple with what we're doing.
Yeah. So you focused everything on the creature side then?
Yeah, everything is attack. So
I'm surprised you didn't put something in like a Dolmen's Gate that makes all your combat damage negate your creatures.
Gruul isn't about thinking.
Fair.
Just gonna say it out loud right now. Gruul, not a lot of thought put into it. I also really a good enchantment for this deck that I again couldn't find is Bedlam. Its creatures can't block because you are going to outvalue everyone in combat in this deck because everything is combat. Peace was never an option. That should be the name of the deck.
Guys, this is one of the first decks I've ever seen on any of our podcasts where it's been like 54 in one like section. There are 54 creatures in this deck, not including the commander.
Yeah, it's I went pretty hard with creatures in the deck.
What is your mana curve? Jeez.
You don't need mana in Gruul. You're fine.
Surprisingly, it's 3.92. I really figured it would be like closer to 5.
Well, especially seen as the first one on the list is 7 mana.
This is a card I've never seen a single person play in EDH. If you do play it, shout out to you. I've never seen this card. I just discovered it, and it made me very happy. It's Aetherwind Basker. It's 4 and triple green for a lizard, a 7/7 lizard. It has trample. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, you get an energy counter for each creature you control. So if you have 5 creatures and Wulfgar out, You get 10 energy counters every time it attacks, and it has pay 1. It gets 1/1 until end of turn. So this thing I've just steamrolled people with because it just becomes so big and so problematic so fast. And with the double up triggers, like a lot of the time I'll have 10 creatures out, get 20, and then it'll be a 27/27 swinging.
Jeez.
It's huge.
It's insane too because it has that caveat of spending the energy because most of the time this is just going to be a fire breathing type effect that you have to pay mana for, but because you're doing energies,
there's actually a few cards in here that care about energy, but this one it's very fun to just smoke people with.
Well,
I'm glad that this has finally got a home because I've seen this card and I'm like, it could be good. This is scary.
I was rifling through a foil binder and I saw it in like a $1 section, and I can't even remember what store I was at, but it was like in a $1 section. I was like, this is cool. I want this.
Well, the on attack is what you really care about because you get energy on attack too, and that's going to trigger twice.
Yeah, double energy. It really, really energizes. I love this deck so much. The next one, Brazen Wolves. We have 2 and a red for a 2/3 wolf, and whenever it attacks, it gets +2/+0 till end of turn. But I'm just again thinking in terms of my commander, so it's a 3 mana it's a 3 mana 6/3 basically on attack.
Yeah,
that's fair. Yeah.
I'm
Zach, gonna read
you want to take this one? Yeah.
Yeah, I like this one a lot. Coastline Marauders. It's 2 and a red for a human pirate, 0/3. It has trample, and whenever Coastline Marauders attacks, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn for each land defending player controls, and it has Encore for 4 red.
Jeez.
Yeah, It's huge. It's just enormous. So by the time Wulfgar's out, if everyone is playing, let's say we're all playing some fair magic, everyone has 5 mana. This gets +10/+0.
And trample on side as well.
At 3 mana, yeah. And then with its Encore, you have so many of them. Yeah, I really, like I said, I like this whole deck is just nonsense cards. They're all cards that make me happy, and they all do silly shenanigans like that. We have Conduit of Storms, a werewolf horror, 2 and a red for a 2/3. When it attacks, you get a red to your mana pool, and it doesn't empty at the beginning of your next main phase, And then for 5, you transform it, and it transforms to Conduit of Emrakul, which is whenever it attacks, you add 2 to your pool at the beginning of your next main phase. So it's going to give you +2 mana or +4 mana with your commander out, which is pretty aggressive ramp.
Yeah. Your next one is Cultivator of Blades, 3 green for an elf artificer, 1/1 with Fabricate 2. So when it enters, put 2+1 counters or make 2 servos that are 1/1s. But when it attacks, you may have other attacking creatures get +X until at end of turn, where X is its own power. So you let it come in as what, a 3/3, and then give everything +6/6?
Well, so it's actually really, really fun. There's a few cards in this deck that act this way, and it's really, really fun to organize the triggers of it. So like imagine we have 2 Cultivator of Blades effects, it's +3. We trigger one, now they're both 3/3s in this case. We trigger one, everything gets +3/+3. It goes to the next trigger and sees that the second Cultivator of Blades has 6 power, so everything gets +6/+6.
Everything gets +9/+9 in total.
Yeah, you can make... There's a lot of just like huge... It's a very trigger-intensive deck. Obviously, that's the whole point of it. But it's just so fun to like power buff the field in this weird chain of events with garbage creatures that no one plays.
We're only, 4-5 creatures in? 5. I'm already wanting to build this.
It's super budget and it's super fun. It's I also think that if you're trying to teach one of your friends to play Magic and like remember triggers, this might be a little complex for them, but it is a really, really good explanation of how triggered abilities work, like using the whenever to know that that's when it's the attack trigger. It's a really, really fun, teachable deck, and even if it's not, you'll have fun just showing your friends the game with this, because again, there's no thinking in this deck. You're just playing and trying to remember triggers. It's all, hey, as my brother calls it, it's Oonga Boonga magic. It's some caveman brain stuff. I love it. It's so fun, but all you do is attack. There is no time for defense.
Yeah.
I'll let you take the next one, Zach.
Yeah, I was going to. It's Cyclops Gladiator. It's one red, red, red for, you guessed it, guys, a Cyclops Warrior. It's a 4/4, and whenever it attacks, you have it deal damage equal to its power to target creature defending player controls. If you do that, creature deals damage equal to its power to Cyclops Gladiator. So it attacks, you have it fight another creature.
You double fight, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it double fights.
As long as you survive the first one.
I think the damage is still on the stack, is it not? Even if it dies the first time?
Well, if it isn't there, it can't complete its power because it's got no power.
Yeah, true.
I don't know. I know it's a sweet card. And
Because it'll still check on resolution.
That's fair. The next one is very, very strong. I'll let Lotus read this one, but this is a crazy card in this deck.
Drakuseth, Maul of Flames. 4 red, red, red. Now you see why I was worried about your mana curve. It's a 7/7 flying dragon, but when it attacks, it deals 4 damage to any target and 3 damage to each of up to 2 other targets.
Nuts.
Yeah, so deal 8 damage, then 2 sets of 6.
Yeah, you have 20 damage on swing or something like that. Before it hits, it says 7/7.
Damn.
Yeah, it's pretty bonkers.
That's
This-
a lot.
This commander has just literally taken our dollar rares and found a use for them.
Yeah, and like I said, like Drakuseth's fun and stuff, and like having that ability to basically clear 3 blockers essentially on attack is cool, but having the ability to clear 6 blockers or basically just like lightning bolt each opponent, because you can hit each opponent with it. Oh man, I love this card.
Or you just do 20 to someone.
They do
It's
have 4 damage to
It's
any.
a other target.
Oh, other target? Okay.
Yeah, sadly.
But you can still you can still hit 10 damage. Nothing wrong with that. 10 to Lotus,
Nope.
10 to Zach, pass the turn. The next one is one that I'd never played before. I didn't really pull many of them. I actually didn't pull any of them. I had to take one of these from Jacob. It's Elder Gargaroth, 3 and double green for a 6/6, which again, this was a power creep rare if I ever saw it. Like, it's a mythic from M21. It's 6/6, vigilance, reach, trample, which is silly for a 5. If it was only those stats at a 5 drop, this would be an amazing card. But whenever it attacks or blocks, you choose one. You create a 3/3 green beast token, you gain 3 life, or you draw a card. This is immensely valuable in this deck.
See, there was a running joke around my LGS with this card. And it was at the same time that Baneslayer Angel was in standard as well. And it was like, what do you mean this beast ate my Baneslayer and pooped out a 3/3?
Yeah, it was a pretty bad time for power creep at this time, to be honest. But I'm pretty happy. So on swing, vigilance 6/6 that draws me 2 cards or gains me 6 life or makes me 2 blockers, like chump blockers, I can't stress enough how great of a card it is.
Yeah, this is nuts.
Oh, this deck is so fun. As
next-
we go through it, you guys are going to just love it more and more. You're not going to love the end. I'm going to spoiler alert that one, but we'll see.
The next one scares me.
Yeah, please take it away, Lotus.
Atali Primal Storm, 4 red, red, 6/6 Elder Dinosaur. When it attacks, exile the top card of each player's library. You may cast any number of spells among those cards without paying their mana cost. That's
6 spells
horrifying.
on attack. Oh, yeah.
That's insane.
Oh yeah, it's like I said, his ability to double up triggers, it just got my brain going 300 miles a minute when I heard that, and I was like, I must brew.
It should be 8 spells, not 6. Because
Each player, so you get your own as well, and you get to cast them. Bonkers.
KK.
Yeah, that one's pretty strong. I always thought it was opponents. I'm not good at reading. That's why I'm playing
Are
group.
you going to be playing this on Tuesday?
Yeah, probably.
Oh, God.
The next one's another card I haven't seen played yet. It's Fangren Firstborn, 1 triple green for a beast, 4/2. Whenever it attacks, put a 1/1 counter on each attacking creature.
That's really solid.
Yeah. 2 1/1s on attack. So basically on attack it becomes a 6/4. Your commander becomes a 6/6. Oh, it's so good. I love this deck so much. Zach, you take the next one because I feel like you'll appreciate its ability and toolboxiness.
Sure. So the next card is Flame Rush Rider. It's 4 and a red for a 3/3 human warrior. When Flame Rush Rider attacks, create a token that's a copy of another target attacking creature that's untapped and attacking. I'm sorry, that's tapped and attacking. You exile the token at the end of combat and has dash for 2 red. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So it attacks and you get 2 tokens of another target attacking creature.
Well, and so the fun thing is like with that first card, we have that Aetherwind Basker. It's on enter as well. So if you make 2 copies of it and have 10 creatures, then you get you'll get 20 energy counters and be able to pump one of them up 20. Like it's really, really fun for there's not many ETB in this, but there is a lot of just things that regardless of you miss their attack trigger because they're put in tapped and attacking, not declared.
Right.
But they're still fun to just smash opponents with.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair.
And you don't care that the tokens are exiled because the energy counters aren't put on the creature.
Well, and the other fun thing as well is that you are making 2 copies of any creature that you're targeting, which is really good.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Man, I love this deck so much. The next one is Frenzied Goblin. When it attacks, you can pay 1. If you do, target creature can't... 1 red, sorry. If you do, target creature can't block this turn.
Just effective.
Yeah. Lotus, you take this one.
Dahlia of the Endless Dance, red and a green for a 2/2 satyr. Haste. Other satyrs you control get +1/+1 and have haste. Whenever you attack with 3 or more creatures, you may discard a card at random. If you do, draw 2 cards. Ooh.
I like it. Good chaos draw engine.
Have you got any other satyrs in here?
Nope.
Just for that one?
Just like to draw.
I mean, drawing, 4 cards, discard 2 is not bad.
Yeah. We have a little bit of not attack shenanigans with Garblin and Archomancer. 1 red, 1 green for a 2/2. Each spell you cost that's red or green costs 1 less.
Solid.
Yeah.
I want to take this next card because I think it's hilarious.
Go ahead.
Goblin Trap Runner. It's 3 and a red for a Goblin 4/2. Whenever Goblin Trap Runner attacks, flip 3 coins. For each flip you win, create a 1/1 red Goblin creature token that's tapped and attacking. It's so
That's
funny.
Amazing.
This deck also needs a Helm of the Host. Also couldn't find one of those. Forgot about that one.
Yeah. It's so funny. So you're just... Have you played this deck yet?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Have you done this card yet?
The Trap Runner, yeah. And I've flipped 6 coins in combat many times.
I love that. Okay, cool.
Oh my
so
god.
fun.
Now I'm just thinking of Helm of the Host on your commander because it doesn't say a trigger. It says it triggers an additional time.
It sure does.
Oh my god, no.
Yeah, being able to trigger this deck does need a Helm of the Host. Like I said, Gruul, it was no brain building. I'm sorry, but Helm of the Host should be in this deck. Full disclosure.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Next we have Grand Warlord Rada, 2, a red and a green for a 3/4 legendary creature elf warrior. It has haste, and whenever 1 or more creatures you control attack, add that much mana in any color and any combination of red and or green until the end of your turn. You don't lose this mana as steps and phases in.
I really, really like that card. It is my good ramp. Like you said, Lotus, you were worried a little bit about my curve, but you get there. There's a lot of things that make mana on attack, and
Yeah, I'm actually starting to see it now, that especially that it doesn't lose during phases and steps that are ending.
yeah, and I really like Grand Warlord Rada. I played it as a fireball deck, like I called it my true elf ball deck before. It was all like elves and fireballs, but I figured that it fit more into a deck like this, so that's one of the ones I recently took apart because I just everyone gets it. I can make lots of mana with elves. Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Understandable.
The next card's in the deck specifically for Zach.
Yeah, I saw this. I don't like it.
Yeah. Graven Abomination, an artifact horror, 3 mana for a 3/1. When it attacks, exile target card from defending player's graveyard.
I'll just bolt it. I'll just get rid of it.
That's fair. I respect that. It'll probably get blocked the first time if you're playing against a graveyard player. They'll dummy block one.
Oh yeah. This card's getting removed as soon as I see it. Nope.
Yeah,
Even
it's
just on principle. Even on principle, if I'm not playing a graveyard-based deck, I'll just kill it.
You're just not having it.
Nah.
Wait, you own non-graveyard decks?
I do. Surprisingly.
The next one's another one of our mana reduction ones. It's Hardened Berserker. 2 and a red. Whenever it attacks, the next spell you cast this turn costs 1 less.
Okay, yeah, that's solid.
Yeah, that's very cool. I like that.
I really, really like the next card. Lotus can take this one.
Oh, Hero of Oxid Ridge, 2 red for a human knight 4/2 with haste and battle cry. So battle cry is whenever this creature attacks, each other attacking creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Whenever Hero of Oxridge attacks, creatures with power 1 or less can't block.
Token army, goodbye.
That's so funny because the battle cry will trigger twice.
Yep.
This is what I. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I think there's a card in here that afterwards I think you should swap out.
Okay.
For this card. This card should be replaced with another card.
Which one?
I'll let you know at the end once I've worked out the name.
That's fair. That's fair.
I want to Flame Rush Rider this guy.
Which Hero of Oxid Ridge?
Oh wait, it's on attack trigger. Never mind.
Yeah. It wouldn't be one of my decks without a little group hug. You gotta offset the salt a little bit. So I put a Howling Golem in. It's 3 for a 2/3. Whenever it attacks or blocks, each player draws a card. I think it's just pretty solid card draw for the table as well. And I don't know, people are gonna need answers to a lot of what this deck is doing.
I'm reading this card.
Okay.
Hungry Spriggan. It's 2 and a green for a 1/1 Goblin Warrior. It has Trample, and whenever it attacks, it gets +3/+3 until end of turn.
7/7 trample for 3. You say?
I think this is the only mono green goblin that exists.
It has to be.
Like I said, all of these cards on their face are not good cards, but they're pretty good cards.
No, this next card's sweet.
Do you take this one too?
Yeah, fine. Yeah. Inexorable Blob. It's 2 and a green for an ooze. That's a 3/3. It has Delirium. So whenever it attacks, if there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard, put a 3/3 green ooze creature token onto the battlefield that's tapped and attacking.
Wow.
Very cool.
Mega ooze army. I love the ooze. Honestly, I hope that they keep making more and more ooze. It's like my favorite tribe in Magic. I try and splash them in as much as I can.
I'm trying to build an ooze commander deck that's all tribal ooze, but there's just the commanders are either mono green or lackluster at the minute.
That's fair. Like you have Ave, which is the storm one, which is kind of cool, but I don't know. I like token counters. I just love the ooze tribal. They're so fun. I made my current favorite one with them is the Elves and Ooze deck, where I use Numa and Jorga as the commanders, and then. So that's my ramp. It's all 1/1 counter themed. Lots of moving counters between things. Oozes just naturally or counter things. I don't know. It's super fun. I should probably do a deck on that at some point as well. I love my
Mimeoplasm.
Like I said, all of those oozes are just so fun to play.
Yeah, and they've brought out the Gelatinous Cube as well, so I kind of want to use that.
I forgot that one ooze, right?
Do you want to ooze that?
I want to ooze.
The next one as well, also a great card. Inferno Titan. It's 4 double red for a 6/6 giant. Pay 1, it gets 1/0 till end of turn. Whenever it enters or attacks, 3 damage divided as you choose among 1, 2, or 3 targets. So again, on attack, 6 damage.
Yeah, you have the Fire Breathe effect as well.
Yep. I really like all the Titans. They should unban Primeval Titan, but what can I say?
No.
Especially in
this deck. In this deck, no. Go away.
Could you imagine whenever I attack 4 lands, they're all basics. I'm just getting basic lands. It's all above board.
It's not.
Suddenly I start swapping out Kessig Wolf runs and stuff like that.
Yeah, nothing is above. No. I've seen how you play. You're a degen. Don't pretend.
This is, for once, I'm not making infinite tokens, at least.
True.
I don't believe that.
There is no token.
I don't care.
What do you mean there's no tokens?
There's a few token things. I'm going to be honest with you.
I can see one right
this next one.
There's no tokens. Anyways, so Jedit Ojin of Efrava. That's a real mouthful. It's the what's the serial name? I can't think. It's Tony the Tiger. There we go. Brain stopped working there. It's 3 triple green for 5/5 with Forest Walk, legendary creature, cat warrior. When it attacks or blocks, create a 2/2 green cat warrior with Forest Walk. There's no tokens.
Make any tokens.
There's no tokens. You've got to believe me. One of my favorite cards in this might make a few tokens. We have Keeper of Fables, another whenever one or more non-human creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, draw a card, and you run out of a hand pretty quick. People are going to board wipe you as well.
I'm reading this one.
Yeah, this is a pretty Zach card. Yeah.
If you can't see us, because obviously it's voice only, Zach's like literally like a baby going, I want to read it.
It's so sweet. This card doesn't get enough love. It's Kessid Cagebreakers. It's 4 and a green for a human rogue 3/4. Whenever Kessid Cagebreaker attacks, create a 2/2 green wolf creature token that's tapped and attacking for each creature card in your graveyard. Love this card. It is so cool.
Oh, you've got a lot of creatures in this deck.
Yes, 54.
Board wipe me all you want. Again, it does not make tokens. Wink, wink.
Yeah, you're a damn liar.
Yeah.
I have Cloth in there because, again, I felt that they worked better in their own deck as opposed to the Precon. Cloth Unrivaled Ancient, 5, 1 red, 1 green. For a flying haste 4/4 dragon, when he attacks, at X mana in any combination where X is the total power of attacking creatures, spend it only to cast spells. Until end of turns, you don't lose the phases. There's a lot you want to cast. What can I say?
This card is so gross. Like, go away.
Well, even just on its own, if it's the only creature, if it and Wulfgar will trigger melee. At least you attack 2 creatures, he gets +4/+4, so he's an 8. Then that you'd have 24 mana from just the Cloth and Wulfgar alone.
I'm going to start playing Pithing Needle in literally every one of my commander decks. Everyone.
Sorcerer's Spyglass and things like that, so you can't cast it.
We're not doing it.
Anyone playing like Peacekeeper or Creatures Can't Attack decks? Oh, in response, I am sad. You all may have noticed, by the way, pretty much no removal in here. There's it's all attack damage. So all you have to do is have a problematic enchantment and you're probably safe.
You've even got, you say there's no token generation. I think you're going to win before people can set up a defense in here, because you've also got like Krenko.
No token generation. There's no tokens in this deck. I'll
and
stand by it.
This Krenko's nuts. Tin Street Kingpin, 2 and a red, 1/2 goblin. When it attacks, put +1 counter on it. Then create the number of 1/1 goblins equal to Krenko's power.
Every time I've been able to trigger this, it's been with a Cultivator of Blades kind of effect on the stack. So it'll be like, all your creatures get +3/+3. I'm like, okay. Then we Krenko. Then we Krenko again.
Wow.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's no tokens in the deck. But theoretically, Krenko makes a lot of tokens. A whole bunch, yeah. In theory. It's if this deck was to make tokens, which it doesn't, I promise.
You weren't kidding about like when we were getting to the end of these creatures, like how much more we were not gonna like this deck. I mean, they're sweet. I'm not saying it's a bad deck. I'm saying like you're a bad person for the things that you are doing.
Yeah, the top of the list it's a friendly place. The bottom of the list is a little less friendly.
All right, people at home, I'm looking at this next card. It's called Lightning Runner. It's 3 red for a 2/2 human warrior. It has double strike and haste. Whenever it attacks, you get 2 energy. Then you may pay, what is that? 2, 4, is that 8? 8 energy? Yeah. If you pay it, untap all creatures you control, and after this phase, there's an additional combat phase. So for just attacking, it gets 4.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have the green one, you're gonna get enough to do that.
Endless combats. You don't need aggravated assault, Zach. That's what I was waiting for.
I guess. Jesus. I mean, I like that better.
Aggravated assault with energy counters? What are we talking about?
I don't know if I'm impressed or just disappointed.
Oh, man. Lightning Runner is a really, really cool card. And again, it's one you don't... Everyone is... Not everyone. I'm saying everyone like it's everyone. But a lot of people like the energy mechanic and really, really hope that they bring it back and do more with it and make an energy-based commander. I would like that because I thought it was fun.
I've tried and failed many times to build an energy deck.
It's really neat. The issue I feel like is where we're at right now is just for your commander specifically, like to do a good energy deck, I feel like you'd have to do 5 colors because there's just not a large enough card pool for the mechanic in commander.
Yeah.
When it's 4 ofs, like energy is stupid. We've seen it in many top 8s for many, many months.
It can just go really, really hard. See, I don't play anything but Commander, but looking at it, if I had 4 of these, because they're not... I guess if you have 4 of these, you can just every attack play. I guess if you have 4 out, you just win. Didn't think about that.
Which,
if they don't have blockers, you get 8 every time you attack if you have 4 of them. So then I really need a Helm of the Host for this deck, to be honest.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Oh, and it's not legendary, so it will trigger dual nature. So I could technically, because it has haste, it entering, I could just have infinite combats if people can't kill it. Nice.
Oh no.
That's why I need a Bedlam in this deck, so that people can't block. All shall face the wrath. Like I said, I like everything about this deck. It's combat themed. You can't do combat themed without Morog, to be honest. It's, Morog, Fury of Akum, 4 double green, double green, that'd be crazy. 4 double red. Each creature you control gets 1/0 for each time it's attacked this turn. Great static ability. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, if it's your main phase, there's an additional combat phase after this phase. At the beginning of that combat, untap all creatures you control. Think about all of the things that we've been talking about of like, hey, this is a 3 mana that becomes a 7/7. Then it becomes like a 13/13 because it gets +12 on attacks. These are really, really big. If you go back to Coastline Marauders even, and it's late game, someone has 6 lands and you get +12/+0 twice with trample. Morog's a kind of a game ender in a deck like this. Not as much as the next card, which again, the deck doesn't make. Yeah, I see Zach shaking his head. I see Zach reading ahead. I understand. I'm a bad person. Ooh, yeah, grow up, Zach. But you could read the next one if you want. It's this one has killed every time it's come to the table. The game has ended. Please.
It's Nakado War Pride. It's 3 green for a 3/3 cat warrior. Nakado War Pride must be blocked by exactly 1 creature if able. Whenever Nakado War Pride attacks, put X tokens into play tapped and attacking that are copies of Nakado War Pride, where X the number of creatures defending player controls. Remove those tokens from the game at the end of turn.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. This deck doesn't make tokens. But if it did... So if you have a little token army of like, hey, I have 20 Saproleans, I make 40 Nakados, and you have to block each of them. It's Nakado War Pride is such a good card. You never really see it. It's a $4 card that just does not get respect.
So what happens in that situation where you can only block 1 creature? You have 20. The defending player has 20 Saproleans, like you said, but you suddenly have 40.
They can only block, so it has to be blocked by 1 creature if able, but you still will make that amount, so it won't matter. You'll just have 40 tapped and attacking Nakado War Prides.
I was going to say 20 get through, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, it's pretty much the best way to look at this card if Wulfgar's on the field is take 3 damage for each creature you control.
Jeez, yeah.
Yep.
It's so good, and with extra combats, we get to do it again.
And then the next card just makes them so big.
Yeah, please let us.
Oran Reef Ooze, 2 and a green for an Ooze 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, put a +1 counter on target creature you control. Whenever the Oran Reef Ooze attacks, put a +1 counter on each attacking creature with a +1 counter on it.
Yeah.
I know from playing this card in Standard that this gets out of hand.
Yeah, it can get pretty huge, to be honest. Like I said, though, the deck does not make tokens, but if you did make tokens with Krenko, you can get this next one out really easy. It's Patron of the Aki. It's 4 double red. Has Goblin Offering. You can pay it anytime you can play an instant by sacking a goblin and paying the difference in mana cost between it and the sacrificed goblin. Mana cost includes colors, and when it attacks, attacking creatures you control get +2/+0.
Yep.
That'll do it.
I'm glad that you guys are enjoying this deck because, like I said, it's so fun, and I'm amazed that I'm having so much fun with such a budget deck. Like I said, there's a few cards in here, and if you cut Elder Gargaroth, something unnamed at the end, and Sword of the Animus, this is like a $60 deck.
Yeah, it's really sweet. I'm just like, that's how that card works.
Yeah.
Predator Ooze is another really, really cool one. I'll let Zach read that one.
Sure. Predator Ooze is triple green for an ooze that's 1/1 and has indestructible. When it attacks, you put a +1/+1 counter on it, and whenever a creature dealt damage by Predator Ooze dies, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. So just Big
Just
old
gets
boy.
bigger and bigger and bigger. And you have to hope you have a Swords to Plowshare.
Wow.
Yep. That's pretty gross.
You've even found a mana dork for this deck as well.
Yep.
Rada Hair to Keld. Red and a green for a 2/2 Elf Warrior. When it attacks, add double red, or just tap it for green.
So attack and get 4 red. Sounds good.
I'm gonna be honest, this next one, pretty big. Every time you ever play it, it's pretty big. If you have the 7 mana to cast it, you'll understand why. It's 5 double green for Rampaging Brontodon, a 7/7 dinosaur with trample. And when it attacks, it gets 1/1 for each until end of turn for each land you control, which means if you have 7 land to cast it, it gets +14/+14 with trample.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
It's thick.
Yes. Yes, it is.
It's dummy thick. I love these cards so much. We have Resilient Kenra. It's 1 and a green. When it enters the battlefield, you may have target creature get +X/+X, where it's its power, and it has Eternalize. I just like that for Cultivator of Blade effects. This one doesn't trigger when it attacks, but it's just to try and get my buff out.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. Looking at it, I'm not as sold on it. Looking at the rest of my list, I need more attacks.
I'm not as sold. Christmas. Next card is Robber of the Rich. It's 1 and a red for a human archer rogue. That's 2/2. It has reach and haste. When Robber of the Rich attacks, if defending player has more cards in hand than you, exile the top card of their library. During any turn you attacked with a rogue, you may cast that card, and you may spend mana or any color to cast that spell.
This
Sorry,
card's disgusting.
Yeah, I started laughing through it because it's just funny.
Double exile is fun.
Yeah. And 2, they 100% shoved Archer in there to justify it having reach.
Yeah. It's an Archer as well. Trust me, guys.
Well, to be fair, it's from Eldraine and it's supposed to be Robin Hood.
I get it, but it 100% Archer reach. Got it. That's silly.
The next one we have is Rubble Belt Raiders. It's 1 and then 3, which is hybrid green or red, so basically just like 4 in your deck. It's Human Warrior. When it attacks, put a 1/1 counter on it for each attacking creature you control. Whoops.
That's big.
Whoops. Yeah, that one gets pretty out of hand pretty quick. The next one also gets pretty large. But yeah, the 1/1 counter not leaving makes this card a problem. It's 3/3 on its face. It's pretty bad. So even if it attacks by itself with Wulfgar out, it becomes a 5/5. Yeah, that's pretty good. You take the next one, Lotus.
So Rubble Belt Rioters, 1 red green for a human berserker 0/4 with haste. When it attacks, it gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. So if you've got that Baloth as a 21/21 or whatever, then you put this trigger on afterwards, you're then going to have a 42/4.
You're understanding the fun of organizing the triggers? Yes, exactly. We'll get this one to buff up, then we'll trigger Rubble Belt Routers after, and yeah, then it's a...
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh, there's a card that you're not running, and I'm very frustrated about it because I think it would be absolutely perfect in this deck.
I'm excited to hear it because, again, I didn't put that much thought into this deck. I was doing it while we were podcasting. I was like, yep, all right, go ahead. Yep.
Is this why you were so distracted?
Yeah, the whole time I was like sitting here scrolling on my phone, like I was like screenshot.
Right. Let me interrupt and let me tell you what it is because I have it in my Holden and Paco deck.
Okay.
It's Mage Slayer. It's
one. I've already been told about this one. Correct.
Okay.
You're right. Please tell me what it does, though, Zach.
It's 1 in red or green for an equipment, and it says whenever equipped creature attacks, keywords there, whenever equipped creature attacks, it deals damage equal to its power to defending player, and it equips for 3.
Thick.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I did find that other card I was on about as well, just so you're aware. It's not as good as I originally thought, but it might be just as good. So the other card said that creatures or tokens that were 1/1s can't block, yeah?
Yeah, Hero Vox Ridge, yep.
So Legion Loyalist is a 1-mana 1/1 with haste that's got Battalion. That whenever this attacks with at least 2 other attacking creatures, creatures you control gain first strike and trample, and until end of turn can't be blocked by tokens.
Nice. I like that.
There you go. You get rid of your resilient Kinra.
Yeah, I got to take that one out. I forgot that it's not on attack. Maybe I just misread. We all know that I can't read, but I thought it was when it attacks. So yeah, that card's going. That card's going right after I'm done this one. The next we have is Savage Ventmaw, because obviously you have to run Savage Ventmaw in a deck like this. How do you not? Like, it's I'm sure it comes with the Wulfgar. It's just stapled to the back. Savage Ventmaw it's a 4/4 dragon flying for 4 and 1 red 1 green. Has flying, obviously. Whenever it attacks, you get 3 red 3 green until end of turn. You don't lose it, so you get 12 mana when you attack with it with Wulfgar out. I should probably put more things in to protect Wulfgar. No one's been able to kill him because I've just been smashing them, and then I've had the mana to recast him if I need to, because he doesn't need to attack to do it. So haste is not a problem for me. You kill him, it just means my attention is at you.
I feel like
kill him if you dare, cowards.
I feel like Horizon Stone honestly might not be bad in this deck. I don't know what you would do with the mana.
That's my problem. I have so much mana in this deck, but nothing to do with it. I considered putting an Omnath in just to put the mana on something.
Isn't there an enchantment that gives all your creatures fire breathing?
Probably. I don't know.
Maybe.
Perforos, you can fire breathe your whole creatures. But it's Perforos isn't for this deck. The next one is another one that you don't see played very often. It's very fun. Especially if someone's playing an Arcades deck. Siege Dragon, pardon me, it's 5 double red for a 5/5 flying. When it enters the battlefield, destroy all walls your opponents control. Fun.
Yeah.
Especially with the Maskwood Nexus, whenever things have all creature types now, which is becoming more and more popular. You just yeah, that's pretty funny.
I would be so sad because that's 100% going to kill everything I have, because I run Maskwood Nexus a lot.
So good,
right? How I feel about changelings.
But then when it attacks, if depending player controls no walls, it deals 2 damage to each creature without flying that player controls. So a pretty good board wipe on creatures. Most things in Magic are going to die to consistent 4 damage. And the things that aren't are really going to hope that I don't have Morog out.
Yeah.
Just, again, remember, as we get closer to the bottom of the list, remember that you guys like me as a person. Remember that you think that I'm entertaining, at least, because it gets so much worse.
I'm scared. I haven't scrolled down. I'm literally looking at the card we're on and the one just below it.
Good. Keep it that way.
I'm worried because we're in S at the minute.
I did really, really like this one as well, Sigiled Skink. It's 1 and a red for a 2/1 lizard. When it attacks, scry 1. I actually thought that was like a pretty fun ability to be able to use in these colors. Scry's not really it's not really a red ability or like a Gruul thing. So
yeah.
I'll let you take the next one here, Lotus.
So Signal Pest, 1 mana for a 0/1 pest with Battle Cry. Can't be blocked except by creatures with flying or reach.
I love it. A good old +2/+0 battle cry for 1 mana. It's great. You're going to need to draw on a deck like this. So we have a Soul of the Harvest, 4 double green. Whenever another non-token creature enters under your control, you can draw a card. I really wish there was a whenever you attack with a non-token creature, draw a card, but then I would deck myself, so...
Yeah, kind of.
You're also for not adding in that it's a trample and it's a 6/6.
Oh, it is a 6/6 trampler. I always forget that the card has any other stats except for the draw. It is just my draw engine in green.
Look, I understand that, but this is a beater. Like, it's amazing stats.
It is a 6/6 trample for 6. You're not wrong.
Gee, many Christmas.
Zach, you take this next one. I think you'll like this one.
I was going to say, before you do, did you not consider you wanted to draw cards like Garruk's Uprising, giving all creatures trample?
People dislike what's in here enough.
So the next card is, how do you say this? Sir Freyan, the Hedgehammer. It's 2 green for a 2/2 legendary creature, human knight. Whenever Sir Freyan the Hedgehammer attacks, another target attacking creature gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is its power. Or, well, X is Sir Freyan's power. That's, yeah.
So +2/+2 twice, so +4/+4 onto my Cultivator of Blades, so that everything's getting +7/+7. Whoops.
Oh, and you have the card I was going to suggest to you if I didn't see it, so I'm happy about that.
What one is that? Is it the next one?
It's not. It's a couple down, because I scrolled ahead because I was very frustrated.
Yeah, don't keep going yet, Zach.
It's too late. It is way too late for me.
The next one is Targnar Demon Fang Knoll. 1 and a green, It's a 2/2. Pack Tactics. Whenever it attacks, if you attacked with creatures with total power 6 or greater, attacking creatures get 1/0, so another kind of version of Battlecry. And then for 4, finally something that I can do with it, you can double its power and toughness until the end of the turn. So with a Savage Vent mode, I guess I can do it 3 times. So attacking creatures get +1/+0, so +2/+0, so it becomes a 4, then an 8, then a 16, then a 32.
Yeah.
These boys are thick.
That Fang Knoll is thick. Demon Fang Knoll. Next card we have is oh wait, do you want me to stop? Sorry.
No, go ahead. I was asking.
Okay. Next card we have is Tectonic Giant. It's 2 red for a 3/4 elemental giant. When it attacks or becomes a target of a spell an opponent controls, you choose one. It deals 3 damage to each opponent, or you exile the top 2 cards of your library. Choose one of them until the end of your next turn. You may play that card.
Yeah, very, very solid with the ability to get 4 cards and choose 2, or just bolt the table for 6.
Yup.
Each opponent, yeah.
I think it's fun. Lotus, you take this next one.
Terra Ravager, 2 red elemental beast for a 0/4. When it attacks, it gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is the number of lands defending player controls. Oh.
Yeah. A lot of these scale pretty well into the late game.
I was going to say, yeah, you're not going to be sad to see this in the late game when someone's got, 10, 12 lands?
You're going to swing at your friendly old green player with a card like this.
Yeah.
I probably should put everything as trample in it, but I don't know. It already hits people hard enough.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you need it.
There's trample enough. We have Territorial Kavu as the next one, 1 and a green. It has domain. Its power and toughness are equal to the number of basic land types among you that you control, so realistically 2. When it attacks, choose 1, discard a card if you draw a card, or exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard. I like to loot. I like to get rid of people's graveyard stuff because I, after playing with Zach, have learned how bad it is to let people have the graveyard intact.
Yep.
Yeah. Zach's made me main board Leyline of the Void and rest in peace.
Zach's a meta changer all on his own.
You give me a graveyard, I'll play it. I'm still working on making every possible combination of the 2 colors as a reanimator deck.
I like it. Sure. The Sithis reanimator we still have to do a deck tech on. I think that's really cool. Maybe that's what we'll do next week. Spoiler to anyone listening. Maybe we'll do Sithis next week because that's a cool deck.
Following week.
Following week. Yes, sorry.
Yes.
But yeah. Sithis was very fun on Brewing It Live, so it should be good.
The deck was my hand. I got a tangent for a second. My hands were awesome, but because of the people I was playing with, cough, Dan and his brother, I didn't do anything.
I forgot the game. Cotter played his Tybalt deck, which the whole point is to exile people's cards and then exile the graveyard with the Tybalt ability. So yeah, Zach tried to play from the graveyard, getting his graveyard exiled 3 times. Because of Time Sifter. If you don't play Time Sifter or your playgroup doesn't, buy one and put it into a deck and watch how mad it'll make all your friends. Because I've been Time Siftered probably 30 times in the last few weeks, and there's been games where it's 14 turns a round of Time Sifter where I don't get a turn. I just sit. The first time I played my Arkellos deck, I got 2 turns, Connor got a Time Sifter out, and then I did not take a turn until the game ended. I was on turn 2 until I was dead.
Wow.
It was pretty brutal. My brothers are bad people.
But the Sithis deck is sweet. I'm very, I have that's my Selesnya Reanimator deck. It is very cool, but my hands I thought were good. It just wasn't good enough.
The next one we have, we're close to the end of our list here. We have Timbermaw Larva, 3 and a green. When it attacks, it gets 1/1 until end of turn for each forest you control. So again, it can get pretty big, pretty out of hand. 2/2 for each forest you control in a deck that's running 18 forests. Not bad.
This card, I was excited to see the one that's coming up, so I want to read it. It's Tuya Bearclaw. It's 1, a red and a green for a legendary creature, human warrior, 2/2. When it attacks, it gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the greatest power among other creatures you control.
I see Lotus is shaking her head. I see Lotus is also red ahead. We're going to skip the next card. We'll do that one last.
I want to say though, hold on. Tuya is very, very strong. If you've not played with her before, put it in a deck. I run her in my Crush deck, and it is stupid because I'll just make something absurdly huge, sacrifice it, and then Crush is even more absurdly huge. It's so much fun.
Well, again, if you have something like that Brontodon out, right, where it's getting plus 21, plus 21, this is another card getting plus 42, which just becomes so big. Lotus, I see your face. Don't make that face at me. Don't judge me like this.
I'm harshly judging you.
We're all friends here. We're going to go to the second last card on the list. It's Wild Beastmaster. It's 2 and a green. When it attacks, each other creature you control gets XX, where X is its power. So again, one of those ones that you want to stack with a Cultivator of Blade. If you have Battle Cry, everything gets +2/+0. Then you do Cultivator of Blades. Everything gets +5/+5. Then you do this one. Everything gets +10/+10. Everything's real big. Yeah, love it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I want to preference this first and foremost.
You all like me as people. You all like me. Remember this.
Lotus and I do not condone the use of these cards. I like a specific set of these cards, and they are devoid.
I promise you, if you play this card, you will make your friends furious. They will lose their mind the first time this happens. Oh, it's so fun. Oh, it's my favorite card in this deck.
I'm not reading it.
Yeah, I'll read this one. This is the card that if you cut, the deck is very budget. It's like $70 or $80 on its own. It's Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger. Whoops. It's a 10 mana 10/10. When you cast it, I told you I didn't have much removal in here. This is my removal spell. What can you fault me for? It's a 10/10 indestructible. When you cast it, you exile 2 target permanents. Great effect. And then there's something about whenever it attacks. I'll let Lotus take that trigger.
Whenever it attacks, defending player exiles the top 20 cards of their library.
Yeah.
40 cards.
Yeah, it's a bit of a problem, that one. I've played 7 games with this deck so far, and I've got it out 7 times. And 7 times the person I've swung at has been very mad.
I would cuss at you. I would 100% cuss at you.
People lose their mind. Ulamog's effect already annoys people. I've never seen Ulamog hit the table and swing, and someone's like, you know what? That's pretty fun. I didn't mind that at all. But when you double it to 40, people lose their mind.
Well, like you guys know, I play out of my graveyard so much. If a card is in my graveyard, it's still reachable. There are 2 spells in Magic that let you interact with bringing stuff back from exile. What?
Call from Eternity.
Call from Eternity, and then Rift Sweeper.
Yeah.
A white card and a green card.
It makes me sad we're not doing a video for this one because I've had just such a stupid smile on my face watching both of your reactions to things. But I watched the moment during this that each of you saw that card in this list. Zach was much earlier, and he looked disgusted. Zach looked like he was going to throw up. Ah! And then I saw Lotus reading one at a time. She got to it and just started shaking her head. She was just like, what is this person?
Do I even know you anymore?
I've almost cussed twice on this episode. I'm pretty good about not doing that.
I'm surprised.
This was the second time I have almost slipped because I was just like, what is wrong with you? This deck has been cool and has been fun, and that is so oppressive.
I'm surprised you haven't put like Annihilator in.
This is a look into my brain. By the way, Annihilator is an attack trigger. I did consider it. There may be a second Eldrazi version of this deck, but this is where my brain went while we were reading it, just so everyone understands why I was distracted during it. I had just gone and bought 2 more Ulamogs for decks, and they were sitting in front of me on this. Then we read Wulfgar's whenever it attacks triggers, and I was just like, Mother of God. I was so excited. So I literally started brewing these decks entirely because there was an Ulamog 3 feet from me, and I was like, I'm going to put this in the deck for sure. There's no way that I can't do it. I was like, it'll be hilarious.
Look,
if you're playing it, it is hilarious. But I assure you, there is no way that your playgroup cannot be so mad if you exile 40 of their cards on attack. They will lose their... I'm sure, it doesn't matter how good sports they are, they'll sit there and be like, oh yeah, for sure. They'll be furious. There's going to be a text chain you're not a part of later.
Okay, so with this in mind, with that, I just... the way my brain works, something I think would be cool. If you're making someone exile 40 cards already, and you know there's at least one card in this deck that you don't need, right? Have you thought about Oblivion Sower?
Is that the what one's Oblivion Sower?
All right, so Oblivion Sower is 6 for a 5/8 Eldrazi. When you cast Oblivion Sower, target opponent exiles the top 4 cards of his or her library. Then you may put any number of land cards that player owns from exile onto the battlefield under your control. It doesn't care about the ones that opponent exiled with Oblivion Sower, just in exile in general. If you make someone...
You have my attention. Exile 40 cards. We're ramping so hard for my Brontodon.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what you're going to do with that mana, but it's just an interactive... if you're doing it, you might as well go into it, right? 40 lands.
Well, you're already doing it because you've got Robber of the Rich exiling the top cards. You've got Atali exiling the top cards.
Might as well put Oblivion Sower in here because at least it's cool.
Yeah, I was thinking about like going way harder into the Annihilator, but Annihilator just makes everyone mad already. And double Annihilator triggers is pretty silly. I was going to put Eldrazi Inscription onto Wulfgar.
It sucks because I really do like the Eldrazi. I think they're very cool creatures. But like I said, the Annihilator ones, I just kind of like... You guys said over there, I have a full Devoid deck over here that I love, and that's fair.
Oh, like I said, I really cannot get over how much fun this deck is to play, especially for a very cheap and affordable for pretty much anyone deck. Like I said, if you just get rid of Ulamog, that's like $80 out of the deck already. Something like that. Like it's $70 on my list here.
Yeah, really, like Ulamog and your Elder Gargaroth.
Make this deck. Well, what's Elder Gargaroth on this list?
I think 20.
So yeah, literally, you make this like a $70 deck. Anyone can pick this deck up. Like it's $70. There's no fancy dual lands needed. There's nothing too crazy. You can change it up. Obviously, you don't need to have 54 creatures. You can.
Well, what's kind of nice is like the templating you have here, right? It's a heavy creature aggro deck, right? That cares about these on attack triggers. So you're right; these are just the creatures that you chose from. There are a ton of really interesting creatures out there that that you might just have in your boxes. Like I have so many Magic cards, I could probably recreate this deck how I would want to play it, doing the same kind of templating. We're only caring about attack triggers, and there are so many cool red and green, even colorless creatures that you didn't add that could easily go in here and do fun stuff.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
there's a lot of fun stuff. What were you saying, Lotus?
I was gonna say the type of player I am, I'd be putting in things like Lithoform Engine and things like that. Maybe make it a token deck and add in a parallel lives and doubling.
There's no tokens. You've got to believe me.
But yeah, no,
there's no tokens. The next card, tokens. The card after that, tokens. The card after that, Krenko. There's no
definitely no tokens.
There's no tokens. Like I said, I really. Oh, by the way, also if you're gonna go the token route, you have to put in old Gnawbones. I was considering that. That seems fun.
Yeah.
Hey.
Like I said, this deck has made me really, really fun. I, as everyone knows, have so many decks. So I often don't find myself reaching for the same deck over and over. But this and Prosper, the new Rakdos commander, I've just found myself playing over and over again lately because they've just been really, really fun.
I wish Wulfgar was Jund so bad.
Oh, that would be nuts. Give me some Grave Titans in this. What are we talking about? I should run Primeval Titan in here. That's not even what would make people the angriest about this deck.
I don't know.
You have a point, but still.
me rule zeroing the table. I will add in Prime Titan, but take out Ulamog. And they're like, nah, I don't think so. I was like, you're dying to Ulamog first.
I feel like what would happen is you would be like, oh, I rule... Because, you guys didn't play with Ulamog, I put in Prime Titan. In my mind, I'd be like, they're just as bad. It's still just as abusable.
Yeah.
How is this better?
No one will put up with my terrorist threats.
I would most likely just be like, oh, cool, yeah, you can play a solo game of Commander.
Yeah.
Just turn you guys up for a game.
Yeah, you pretty quickly get targeted because you're playing. I've noticed lately, especially getting back into person, everyone was so used to playing online. Like I still played with my play group kind of throughout like all of COVID because they're my brothers.
Right.
buy them. So it's kind of easy for me to have done that. A lot of people haven't played in person. So we're all used to like spell table games where you can constantly just look over what their commander is at your leisure. I have noticed a very, very big discrepancy in people not paying attention to what commanders are on the table or what they do if they don't know it. And I've had a lot of games where people, your commander does what? So, yeah, I think that if people don't pay attention to what you're doing, you'll get out of hand pretty quickly with this deck. And
I don't know if you've noticed this as well, but the people that have played Spell Table over the last lockdown, they've evolved their technique, played against loads of different people, they've improved their decks, made them better, and gone a couple of notches up the power level. Well, and then you go back to the LGS, and you've got the people that never had that opportunity, and you're not in the same zone anymore.
Well, I think as well, when you're with your playgroup, you have to like consider like, how am I going to make my friends feel if I play this and stuff, right? And like for most people, all jokes aside, you will make your playgroup furious if you attack them with a double trigger Ulamog. They'll lose their mind. They're not going to be happy with it. You're not going to be a friendly player. But that being said, like my playgroup has always been kind of aggro, so I don't feel bad about it. But on a spell table game, who cares? You're never going to see this person. You don't see their face and how mad you've made them. You just see the cards on and you hear, okay, yeah, sure. So I do think that people increased their power level and kind of stopped caring about the experience as much because you just shuffle up and play the next game, right?
Yeah. I don't know how I would feel if we were playing and you were like, let's just pretend we hadn't done this episode yet, so I didn't know Ulamog was in here. And we're playing and we're at like I don't know, I guess if it's close to the end of the game already and you're just like, all right, I'm going to play Ulamog. I'm like, oh my God. Okay, great. And then I remember, wait, 40. That's 40 cards. I don't know if I would be mad or if I would just be like, are you kidding? You know what I mean? Like my general reaction, like, what? That's where you went?
Well, let me put this into a quicker perspective. I can cast Ulamog after one Savage Ventmaw attack.
Oh, yeah. No.
Yeah. So it comes out way earlier in the game than it should. It's come out every game, and it's always been from like a Cloth or a Savage Ventmaw kind of effect. Or I have that one that is whenever it attacks, I get to my next spell cost 2. Like, it ramps out really, really fast, and the deck like is kind of deceiving because I don't have much removal in it. I don't have any of that stuff. So targeted is going to take out a lot of my stuff, but that's kind of how I built this deck. Like, a lot of people really switch to a lot of targeted removal, and I don't really care if you remove these things because there's 54 of them that do what I want.
I was going to say, have you got 54 targeted removal spells?
Well, yeah, and if people start board wiping me, then I generally hold Kessig Cagebreakers back in my hand until people have board wiped me. Then I get it out and I'm like, all right, face the army of wolves, cowards.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to bring up as we were getting closer to wrapping up this episode was like, where do we stand on a power level? Because like this deck is very deceiving. Like, you're right, it doesn't have a lot of like crazy expensive cards or have like the quote unquote mana fixing that, you really see for more higher tier decks. But with how efficient this deck is at doing what it does, it's like, it's not a very low powered deck by any means. You're playing some janky creatures.
Not
but
to toot my own horn, but I will say it is the strongest budget deck I've ever seen. I've played 7 games with it. I have won 7 games uncontested. It doesn't really matter what archetype I'm playing against, counterspells, anything like that. It is just ran a train on the table because of how big those triggers get. And it's super fun to stack them in like I keep going back to the Cultivator of Blades battle cry kind of way. It gets so out of hand, and it's like a board state people don't really see because they're not thinking of it. They're not sitting there doing the math for your cards, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, all right, +2, then this will be +5, then that'll be +8, then this will be a +4, then he has a 21. Yeah.
Well, and too, like you said, you're not running a lot of interaction, but I mean, you could be running Red Elemental Blast and Pyroblast and Guttural Response and Prowling Serpapod and all these cards that are
Vexing
just like Vexing Shusher, Rhythm of the Wild, like all these cards that are just like, I'm going to do what I want regardless.
Yeah, you could make this deck significantly better, but death is the only interaction I crave.
Yeah, no, I get what you're doing, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if you were to like seeing this deck now, I, I don't know where I put it on the power level scale
Yeah,
because
it's like you can imagine sitting across from Dan. Dan goes, I play my commander and I'll play something like, I don't know, Aetherwind Basky. Like, okay, it's a 7/7. And then you get swung and then it's a 21/21. You're like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
It's a very deceiving deck.
So another thing, while we're talking about interactions with it, I actually swung with that card and Nicatl at the same time. So the opponent had like 10 creatures. I made 20 Nicatl tokens, and then I got 40 energy counters, and then I dumped the 40 energy counters into the Basilisk, and then I killed the opponent pretty handily because it was a really, really big Basilisk. That's kind of, yeah. It's so fun. I really, really like the deck. It's like I said, I don't often find myself reaching for decks. A lot of people have asked me before, what's my favorite deck? And it's so hard to choose, right? Because I play CEDH. I would say this is probably, at the moment, as of this episode's recording, this is probably my favorite deck. It's just fun. It's fun. You can play against anyone with it, and it's kind of hard to be mad at junk cards killing you. The Ulamog I get. That's on me.
Ulamog, the junk card.
I think I'm going to build this today.
This one? You're going to build a version?
I'm going to build my version.
I'm going to build a version as well, because I'm actually super excited with this.
Mega combat game.
I've got so many ideas floating through my head right now, and I'm thinking things like Krenko, Goblin.
A token-based one would be very, very strong.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like heavy goblins.
I'm just going to see if I can make it a reanimator deck.
I like that.
Well, you also know too how much I love going through. You guys know this. Every time I build a new deck, I go through my collection first and foremost to see what I have lying around. And this seems like it's another one of those commanders that's going to turn a lot of my like quote unquote junky cards into. This was never meant to. This
whole like deck is pretty much bad cards. It's like, I'm sorry if you like them, but they're not the best cards. But in this kind of deck, they're great. You take something like Coastline Marauders, which is like what, a 25-cent common? Is it common or uncommon? It's an uncommon. It is a 25-cent uncommon. But you just turn it into just a monster card.
Yeah.
Encore is sweet too.
Yeah.
I love Encore.
Like I said, I could talk all day about like how much I just love this deck and everything to do with it. But yeah, like if you're looking for just a budget alternative, or you don't really play Gruul, or like you're similar to me and anyone who plays Cyclonic Rift infuriates you, it's a really good card. You can blitz one person pretty easy with this.
Cyclonic Rift, def nothing wrong.
I hate that card. Spoiler alert as well, if you ever Cyclonic Rift me, Ulamog is just coming at you. I don't care about board state or threats. I like to prove a point.
Bring it.
Yeah. I'm trying to hit Cyclonic Rift in those exiles. That's why I'm doing it. Sorry, guys. Also, by the way, I would really, really like a Helm of the Host in the deck the more I've looked at it, because, yeah, being able to do like 60 cards on an exile or 80 cards on an exile if I have 4 Wulfgars would be crazy. Remember, you guys like me again. You're both shaking your heads. Come on, guys.
No, thank you.
Come on, man. Honestly, I didn't even think about if you have Helm of the Host with that energy. What's the red one that we went over? We'll wrap up here because I'll rant about this deck all day. It's the energy
Lightning Runner.
If you have a Helm of the Host, you just can take all your combat steps. That's awesome.
Yes, it is.
And if someone doesn't have a way to kill it in the first few, then
they just die.
Especially with Krenko out. Krenko's pretty bonkers. I didn't give the respect it needs.
So you know how we always run Leyline of the Void and Rest in Peace for Zach? I'm going to start running Ensnaring Bridge for you.
Yeah.
And Rakdos Charm.
Rakdos Charm.
Everyone should run Rakdos Charm. Connor, the last time we were playing games, he was just holding it upside down on the camera, just flashing it at me.
Yes, we played those games, and I was laughing the whole time. Granted, I wasn't playing that game because Time Sifter.
That was... did we stream that game? I think, yeah, we did. We haven't put that one up yet. Maybe we can. It's Andrew...
We did or didn't?
I don't think we actually posted it on YouTube, though, the game.
Okay.
I know we streamed it, but I was playing Xerus, and Andrew just kept board wiping me, and I just kept making so many snakes. I was like, how many times do I have to teach you this lesson? I'll make 40 snakes. And he's like, all right, I will. Damnation. I'm like, all right, that's fair. Let me make 40 more snakes.
Wait, didn't a Teferi's puzzle box come up in that game?
Yep.
And it wasn't yours. It wasn't yours, though.
Connor's Teferi's puzzle box. Connor plays like a monster. Connor's very fun to play with.
He is. But man,
he plays very weird.
I hate his Norrin deck. I just don't like chaos.
Yeah, well, that's his Tybalt deck too. And the Prosper deck he's going to make. Prosper's really fun. By the way, Share the Spoils, that card that I was talking about, amazing. I need so many of them. Sell me yours if you don't want them. And send Zach Fiend Lashes. I'm ranting now. We'll outro out here. Zach, let people know where they can find our stuff.
Well, once again, thank you for making it to the end of the episode. We enjoy it, having you guys spend another day with us. If you like what we do, make sure to follow us on all of our socials, which is all just Into the 99. If you want to support us in a more financial way, you can be our patron over at patreon.com. And our one-stop shop for all things Into the 99, into99.com. So if you want more, you can find it there. I've been Necro, that's been Lotus, that's Dan, and we are Into the 99.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
Take care, everybody. Why do I wave?
It's the same reason I smile.